Hi, everyone. I am Farah Gibson, and I am a psychic medium or an evidential medium, whichever you'd like to call it. I was born with this purpose. I was blessed by heaven from birth and before birth to come with the purpose of helping this world to heal one person at a time. And I feel like sharing information about heaven, putting things into perspective on hard subjects of grief is something that I love to do because I feel like the more we know, the less we fear. And today I want to talk about the subject of baby loss on all different levels. Um, so whether it's miscarriage, whether it is abortion, whether it is a baby born sleeping, whether it is a baby that passes, with SIDS or with illness, every single baby, even if you miscarried a baby at the very beginning of your pregnancy, you just found out you're pregnant, and then we found out that we lost that baby in the physical sense. I want you to know that there is a profound purpose for each of those beautiful babies in your journey. And that purpose is love in the most unconditional way and growth in the most profound way that you could ever grow. And those babies come here to bless you with love and strength in this world, and that's exactly what they've done. Um, a lot of times people ask me, like when I'm doing a reading, can babies come through? Can they communicate? I can tell you that they have infinite souls within them, just as you and I do, and they can absolutely communicate just as fluently as, say, your 90-something-year-old grandmother who passed had life experience. Your baby has life experience with you. Even if they didn't get to stay in this earthly sense very long at all. And I want to touch on that subject today, just to kind of bring some peace to your heart, because I know that there's so many families out there, so many mamas, so many dads that have babies in heaven that they really have a hard time with this subject. So long before we ever come here to live this life, we all came from heaven. My body is like my car. Your body is like your car. My spirit is the driver of my car. Your spirit is the driver of your car. And each of our drivers or souls within us existed in heaven long before we ever came to live this life here on earth. And we come to live this life on earth for soul growth or soul purpose of that growth. And, then people are like, wait, why do we grow? Like, what do we need to grow for if heaven's so perfect? Because heaven is perfect, folks. When you are in God's light, I can tell you that there is nothing that is more perfect than that. And if you don't believe in God, please replace that word with any other word that you prefer, whether it's universe, whether it's love, because I am so respectful of everyone's faith and beliefs. But I do believe in God, so I'm going to use that word here, and you can replace it with whatever you'd like. But God created each of us in his light at very different levels of his light as we were created in heaven. And so my soul is a different level of light than many others, and your soul is a very different light level than many others. Angels are some of the highest levels of light. We're not going to go through the hierarchy of heaven, but you have the ability to grow your light level to be more like God's, or to be more like universe, or to be more like love, whichever word you prefer to use. And the way that we do that is we write a soul plan to come here to earth. Earth is school. It's like the place that our souls grow and experience. We navigate through negativities that we would never experience in heaven. We navigate through obstacles that we would never have placed in front of us in heaven, because heaven is pure perfection. And those of us who have the intention for the most soul growth on this life plan will write the most difficult journeys. It's that simple. And so if you have had a pretty difficult journey in your lifetime, look in the mirror one day and just be proud of yourself, and realize that you're a spiritual badass, and you're doing everything absolutely perfectly right. We always double question ourselves, like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? What's my soul purpose? The truth is, you wrote your soul purpose, and you're standing exactly where you're intended to stand at this very moment within that purpose. But when it comes to babies, we're going to talk about babies, right? I had to give a little background of why we do this. As you sat in heaven and wrote your soul journey with the people who would join you to be your family, your mom and dad, or maybe they would be absent in your life in the human sense, but they were still the ones who birthed you. Or your siblings or your friends, and everybody that's going to join us in our lifetime joins that soul circle when we're writing our blueprint or our soul journey here on earth with intentions for our growth. And each of us in that circle really do sign up to help one another reach the growth that they intend to reach as well. Your children that you have given birth to or adopted or come into your family, however they have come, also sat into that circle with you. And they have such a profound goal of supporting your growth journey and reaching the amount of growth that they intend to reach on this earthly journey that we are on as well. So everybody's got their own soul plan, their own growth plan. You're not bigger than my blueprint, and I'm not bigger than your blueprint. My soul growth intention is something that I set with myself and with God long before I came here. And so is yours. So just know that if you look around you and the people in your soul circle in life, you can probably realize who signed up to be the villain, so to speak, and to challenge you the most. You can look around and see the people who are your support system and who have really been there for you. And then there's people that come and go to support our journey, whether it's in the challenge side or whether it's in the beautiful, lifting, loving side. And then there's these beautiful children that we choose to have in life. And then there's babies that don't stay sometimes. And that's what we're going to talk about. So as you're writing your soul growth journey, those souls that sign up to come into your life as that pregnancy, let's say that we're talking about miscarriage right now, just to kind of pick a subject, right? So there would be a soul in heaven that has chosen to be your child in this lifetime, and you have chosen them as well. And the love that it takes in heaven to create those soul bonds here is so profound. And it's so easy. Love's just present in heaven. And so that soul says, you know what, I'll come and I'll bless you, and I'll come to bless you with more love and strength than you ever knew you could carry. But I don't necessarily want to live a full life plan. So I'm willing to come and bless you with love and strength, but I'm not going to stay. And it's going to be the most strength and the most love you ever knew you could hold when you lose the pregnancy that I'm going to join you for. And that would be the message behind that baby that is miscarried. That baby, in the human sense, as that baby comes to you, we feel that profound love. We feel that connection. We feel that body and that baby growing inside of us. We start bonding with that child from the moment that we find out that we're pregnant, and then we lose this baby. And in the physical sense, that is one of the hardest things to journey through, is losing a child in any age level. But especially parents, who really, really try for that pregnancy so hard, and they lose baby after baby after baby, and they go, why me, God? I want you to know that there's purpose in those babies passing, and they're coming to bless you in love and strength. And they're absolutely a part of your heavenly team from the moment of conception, and before that, and after they return to heaven. They're still a part of your heavenly team. We will lose babies in different phases of pregnancy, whether it's a full term or whether it is early in pregnancy. And I want you to know that those souls absolutely exist no matter the time in the human sense that you carried that infant in utero. There's never a time that they're not present for you from the moment that they pass. They're still a part of your team with your loved ones in heaven who have passed, with your animals in heaven who have passed as well. And they're lovingly supporting and watching over you, but they fulfilled their soul contract. They came and said they came and did what they said they were going to do, and that was bless you with love and strength. And if you look back on those losses in the physical sense, you never knew you could carry that kind of strength after that loss. You never knew that you could carry that kind of love in your heart for a baby that you never even met in those miscarriage moments, right? And then there's the babies that are full term and the pregnancy's perfect. Everything's fine. And then suddenly the baby doesn't have a heartbeat. And we have no understanding of why in the human sense it happened. We question ourselves as moms, like, did I do something wrong? Is there something wrong with my body? We try to take on the human emotion of guilt and, wonder of like, what could I have done differently? The could haves, the should haves, the what ifs, all of those things. What if I had seen a different doctor? What if I had done this test? All of those things are very earthly questions, but I can tell you again, you're not bigger than the soul print of that baby. And you're not bigger than the soul plan that you wrote long before you came here. Your soul is going to keep you on that journey to achieve the growth that you intended to achieve. And if losing a baby in the physical sense was part of that journey that you wrote, and I know that's really hard for some of us to wrap our heads around, like, wait, why would I write to lose a child? The truth is you never lose them at all. They're still with you. They're still part of your team. Earthly life is but a blink of time in heaven's timing because heaven is eternal. So we know as we're writing this soul plan that it's really not going to be that long at all, even though here in the earthly sense, it seems like forever. So we understand that we will get through it, that we will gain strength from these moments that we never thought that we could gain in this journey. Once we get here, we're like, wait, this is growing? This sucks. You're right. It does. Human growth absolutely sucks in the human sense. But I want you to take a step back to spirit. And if I can help to teach you the beautiful in every terrible, then it makes life a little bit more easy to navigate. So when it comes to babies that are born and we get to hold them and, perhaps they have a medical condition that is so significant that they're not going to be able to stay in the human sense. And I want you to know that those babies have a profound purpose as well. And not only are they growing you with love and strength in those moments of illness or maybe it's a heart defect or whatever it is, you guys, there's so many different avenues of why a baby will pass, with some sort of defect or illness. But if you take the sole purpose of not only growing you with love and strength, and your entire family as well, they're also educating doctors on their journey. They're keeping doctors in humble shoes if mistakes were made in those journeys with them in the physical sense. When doctors sign up in the human sense to become doctors, they go to school for a long time. They have a purpose of helping people. I can't imagine one doctor signing up going, I'd like to take school for 8 years and then, maybe get into medical and screw things up. I don't know that anybody has that purpose, but I do think that in the human sense, things can become repetitive. Ego can get involved. They can start feeling like perhaps they're, like they know what they're doing. They've got this. This is so repetitive. And then here comes your baby. And here comes your baby to humble them and go, wait, this one's not the same. They're not all the same. Your baby would have written to teach that significant lesson to that doctor who begins to get in those ego shoes of human journey and go, oh my gosh, this baby just humbled me and taught me so much, and I need to go back to the basics of really paying attention when I see this sign or when I see this happening, or, the doctor then knows what they could have or should have done in that sense, in the physical sense. But I can tell you in a spiritual sense that that doctor was not meant to do any different with your baby, because your baby signed up to pave the way for other babies in their shoes so that that doctor would have the knowledge needed for the babies that did intend to stay. Our soul plan, it has a length that we've written, within our plan of, obstacles that we would journey through. And these babies say, you know what, I'm going to come to educate this world and I'm going to come to fill it with love. And again, that's such a profound purpose because this world needs love. And love sometimes comes in the form of pain, grief. Grief is made of pure love and it hurts the most. So when it comes to babies that have been sent back to heaven by choice, and that would be abortion, I want you to know that on a human level, I do not debate whether abortion should or should not be. It was not in my choice to have an abortion when I got pregnant at age 15. I chose to have my daughter, and I did, and I had her on my 16th birthday. And you know, there was family members for sure in my journey that were saying, you need to have an abortion, you're too young. And I said, no, you know, it's not my purpose to have an abortion. And I had my daughter, and I made sure that I took care of her because I was taking on the responsibility of being her mom. So even at 16, I worked full time and still went to school and had my daughter. And not everybody can make that choice. Not everybody does make that choice. I know back in the day, back when my parents were younger, you know, it'd be very taboo in a family to be unwed and pregnant. You know, sometimes young girls back in the day would have been forced to have abortions, and they carry that weight, they carry that grief, and they have to carry it silently because it wasn't even okay to talk about it. You know, I mean, you probably know, right? Back in the day, sometimes young girls were sent away, you know, when they were pregnant, and they come back not pregnant. And you know, all of those things, and then that young girl has to carry that weight of that decision that her parents forced her into, or maybe church may have had an opinion on it and really, like, you know, wanted. It just depends on the faith and beliefs that they were raised in, too, sometimes. But there's a soul purpose behind that. Again, those are babies that say, you know what, I'm going to come and bless you with the most love and strength than you ever knew you could carry, but I'm going to need you to make the most difficult decision that you've ever held in your heart, and that's going to be the decision to send me back. And you're going to have to hold that weight. You're going to feel as though you took my life, and you're going to carry that weight, and it's going to grow you the most. And so I can tell you, there's not any woman in this world that wants to be pregnant so that they can have an abortion. Again, it was not my choice to have that. I've never had one myself, but I never judge anybody who has, not because of the human idea of what we should or shouldn't do, but because I know that there's a spiritual purpose behind every terrible in this world. And again, I've had to look at these things through those eyes to have a better understanding, because sometimes the things that happen in this world are yucky, and they're no fun. But when you understand the spiritual side or purpose to them, it just makes it a little easier to comprehend. So those babies would be sent back because of the choice that their mom typically makes, you know, in the end of that decision. And like I said, maybe they were forced into it, and you know, all of those things. Again, those are earthly things, but the baby that was aborted or had their life taken is still very much a part of your team, with pure love for the mom who sent them back. They don't hold a grudge. It was their life plan not to stay. I know that's hard to wrap our heads around if we're raised in different faiths and religions, and please know that I am so respectful of your faith and beliefs and your religions. But I want to bring understanding to the spiritual side of everything. There truly is a spiritual answer to every terrible in this world. And the world is meant to be full of terrible because that's where our growth resides. You grow through your most difficult moments the most. Your strength comes from struggle. Your self-worth and learning that self-worth comes from the struggles that you have been through, to finally go, you know what, I don't deserve this. And your babies, whether they were miscarried, whether they were born sleeping, whether they were aborted, whether they were born and they had illness, and then we'll talk about SIDS, right? There's SIDS, totally unexplainable. You know, part of me goes, okay, maybe the doctors just didn't want to do the research into like what happened to some of these babies sometimes, because they'll chalk a lot of them up to SIDS, right? And then we have those unanswered questions in the human sense of like, no, really, like my baby was the most healthy, perfect freaking baby you could ever imagine. And I go into the room to check on my baby, and the baby's passed. And they can't tell me, you know, if it was a heart defect, if it was a blood clot, if it was a this, if it was a that, you know, those sudden things, if they suffocated on something, you know, and they just call it SIDS. And even I get irritated in the human sense. Sometimes I'm like, that one wasn't SIDS. You know, but no matter the answer to what happened internally with that baby, when it comes to SIDS, their heart stopped in the physical sense. And I think that's why the doctors just say, we're going to call this SIDS, because their heart just stopped. They don't even call it cardiac arrest, right? Or a heart event. They just say it's SIDS. It's unexplainable. And the truth is, behind that, there is an explanation, and that's soul planning. That baby, again, wrote in their soul plan that they would come here and they would bless you with the most beautiful baby you've ever held in your hands. And you would absolutely fall in love with them, and they would give you time to really bond with them in those moments to make this loss, in the physical sense, even harder. Not comparing, you guys. I don't like to compare one grief to another, because even a miscarriage is a very hard passing or loss. But I would say that it adds weight to have those moments, to have that giggly moment with your baby, to change their diapers, to love them, to breastfeed them, to whatever, all those bonds that we get to do as a family, to have a little bit more life experience and then journey through that loss. Oh my gosh, so unexpected. Your baby's not sick. Everything's fine. Suddenly they pass from SIDS. Their soul plan was, I'm going to come, but I'm not going to stay. And I'm going to bless you with more love and strength than you ever knew you can hold, especially after you meet me, because I'm going to be perfect. And it's that perfect bond. It's that perfect baby. And then we have that loss happen, and it's just something that we can't even explain. And again, we go to that human ego of like, what did I do wrong? What the could haves, the should haves, should I have laid them on their stomach? What if I laid them on their back? All those things that we talk about with SIDS, like maybe it's the positional thing, and all those things. But the truth of it is, in a soul plan, when a baby writes to graduate to heaven at an early time in their life, we're not bigger than their soul plan. And you have written those moments with that beautiful baby. You have an unbreakable bond with every baby that you have in heaven, I promise you. You have soul bonds with them long before we jumped into these bodies or cars, and those soul bonds are eternal. So I want you to understand that you will see all of your babies again. I've done numerous readings with clients where I see that they maybe have 5 babies in heaven that were miscarried, or maybe they have a baby that was born sleeping and a baby that was miscarried, or maybe they have a teenage child in heaven, and I also see that they had an abortion, and those children are together in heaven. Please know that there's no separation in heaven for your babies from anyone else, as far as your loved ones go and your animals and all of those things. And then we're going to talk about a subject that's a little bit hard to wrap our heads around, so I'm going to take you there as well. My body, my car, has an age. I'm 48 at this moment while I'm making this video. I am 48 years old. When we think of our babies, we think of them as a very small infant, right? Like this, whether it's in utero, whether it's an infant, maybe it's a baby born sleeping, maybe it's, whatever it is, our body is the body that has age in the earthly sense. Our spirit within us is eternal. So, as my spirit existed in heaven long before it ever jumped into this human body, who is now 48, but I did start out in this little teeny infant body, my spirit that jumped into my body was eternal before it jumped into that infant body. You ever see a baby and you go, wow, that's like an old soul in a little body? There's truth to that, and that's where I'm going with this. So in heaven, as we exist in heaven in God's light, we all have a beautiful, perfect image that we are made in. And that image that we are made in appears at 30 years old for everyone in heaven. I've asked heaven why, and they say it's a youthful yet mature age to appear at. So it's just, an appearance that we are all given as we are created, which is kind of a cool thing, right? Babies, infants, are an earthly human thing because that is how we begin life here on earth, as we jump into that little baby car, and then that baby car potentially grows, right? But our infinite soul that appeared at 30 years old, long before we ever came to this world to live this life, jumped into that little teeny baby body, right? And as we grow, our soul is still infinitely 30 within. So that old soul in a little body, correct. It is a very infinite, knowledgeable soul that is in your baby's body, just as it was in mine when I was born, and all the babies to come and who have ever been. It's why as we grow older, we still feel youthful. I can tell you right now, I'm 48 years old and I still feel youthful inside enough that I could do a cartwheel, and I'll be damned if my body would not keep up with that, because my body age would not keep up with the youth that is within me. When we're in our 80s and 90s, we still feel youthful and connected to who we were, because we're still youthful within. And so as you start getting older and things start to hurt and leak. I always jokingly say, like, I don't want to live past 70 because everything leaks and hurts after 70 with these damn bodies. But the truth of it is my soul is infinitely youthful. Even if I am at 70, my soul within is still at 30 years old. So where I'm going with this is, people wonder, like, wait, who has my baby? And the truth of it is, nobody has to have your baby in heaven, because your baby is an infinite, independent, beautiful, perfect soul made in God's light. And they get to go back to that same appearance that they were before they came into that body, and you knew them in heaven as they appeared in that infinite, eternal age in visual, long before you came to live this lifetime and wrote this life with them. So I think it's comforting to know that when we lose a baby in the physical sense, we're like, wait, who's holding my baby? Like, who has my baby? The truth is, they don't have to be held. They're holding you up. They're lovingly at your side. And they're infinite and beautiful and perfect in every way times infinity. And there's nothing more in this world, in the physical world, that you could have done to make sure that they stayed. I hope this answers some questions for those of you who have baby loss in this world, for those of you who are going through IVF and desperately trying to have a baby. My love is with you. Know that those soul plans are written by you in heaven. You are also a spiritual badass, because those are not easy journeys to go through. And you're also educating doctors on your journey as well, as to what works and what doesn't work with IVF, and with, having, whether it's a surrogate and all of those things. Like, those are soul plans that we wrote long before we came here. And just know that I don't give any future predictions when I do my readings, because your soul plan is yours, and it's not my place to hinder your growth on your journey. It's a pact I made with heaven long before I came here, that I would not hinder the growth of people on their earthly journey, that I would only love and support them through it. And that's what I'm trying to do with this video. So I wouldn't be able to ever tell you if you're going to have a baby, or you're not going to have a baby, just because it's simply not my place. But your soul already knows the answer to that question. So just keep doing the very best that you can in this world. And I'm extremely proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. And know that your babies in heaven are absolutely lovingly at your side every moment. They see you, they hear you, and they know your struggle that you're going through in life, and they're lifting you and loving you through every moment. Hopefully this answers your questions, guys. Have a beautiful day.